There's some things I think you and I both agree. I don't know if you do on all of these, but some of the things that Trump has ideas for, like Europe should pay for their own defense. Yeah, they should. They're rich. Border security, equity, completely replacing the idea of equality.
Is Donald Trump wins people who don't like to think about politics, right? That's very, very clear in all the polling. If you follow the news, you voted for the Democrats, by and large. If you don't follow the news, you voted for him.
They didn't want to just build it, Ezra. They wanted it back better.
Maybe. Oh, wow. Man, that's there's something about throwing me back to that moment that hurts at this moment, right? Like the optimism, it was a simpler time.
It was a simpler time. Yeah, but you make the point in the book, which I think is really interesting, that moment of optimism actually crystallized in some ways the failure.
Yes.
And you make it very stark in terms of, for instance, the Chargers, which I think is a great example.
So liberals passed $7.5 billion for a nationwide network of electric vehicle chargers. We also get $42 billion, and this is a big thing they tout a lot, to do rural broadband. There's a lot of parts of this country that are not hooked up to broadband. And in both cases, and these were passed early in the administration, particularly the rural broadband money, by the end of the administration, by the election, by the time I'm fact-checking the book, they just have not.
Yes, I don't know. I saw an interesting video about this guy. He had an interview with Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was speechless. This guy spent the 4 years defending Biden, but after this clip, he could not continue with that. He realized he made a lot of mistakes. When you take a look at this, Jon Stewart screamed and is rendered speechless after hearing all the 14 steps to apply for Build Back Better funding. When you take a look at something like California, they spent a lot of billion to stop homelessness. This was something like, if you bring that up, a lot of people would support. Yeah, it was a good idea, but they ended up doing nothing. Look at that. Look at the homelessness. The people are still there. So where did the money go? That is a question that even this man could not answer. When you look at some of these Democrat policies that they put forth during the Biden administrations, you realize they were uncalled for, unnecessary reason. You've seen Dodge coming in to trim up some of these things.
We have to issue the notice of funding opportunity within 180 days. That's step one. Step two, which all 56 state applicants completed, is states who want to participate must submit a letter of intent. After they do that, they can submit a request for up to $5 million in planning grants. Then the NTIA, step four, has to review and approve and award, again, planning grants, not broadband grants, planning grants.
And it's still at the NTIA. It's still at the first step.
All right. So the NTIA must issue a NOFO within 180 days. States who want to participate must submit their letter of intent. Step three, they can request up to $5 million in planning grants.
Just planning.
Just planning. Step four, the requests are reviewed, approved, and awarded by the NTIA, which currently all 56, 3 years later, all 56 applicants had passed through at least step five. It took more than 3 years. So it's a long time. States must submit a 5-year action plan. So the states kind of go back and they kind of think about how they're going to do this. And they don't just say, okay, thank you for the money. We're going to spend it. And you can see how it worked out later. We're like, here's our 5-year action plan. Then the FCC must publish the broadband data maps before NTIA allocates funds. So having done the NOFO, the letters of intent, the request for planning grants, then the review, approval, and awarding of the planning grants, then the 5-year action plans. In between that, the federal government has to put forward a map saying where it thinks we need rural broadband subsidies. And then, of course, the states need an opportunity to challenge the map for accuracy. And you can imagine this doesn't all happen in like a day. Okay, so then the NTIA, step 7, has to use the FCC maps to make allocation decisions. Then, having already done their letter of intent, their request for planning grants, it's hard even to talk about this, man. Step 7 is NTIA must use the FCC maps that were already challenged for allocation decisions. Then, having submitted all this, I think this one is actually quite amazing.
Yeah.
Having submitted their 5-year plans or letters of intent, step 8 is states must submit an...
Jon Stewart is speechless. Any person who voted for this bill, the person should not be in Congress again because it was ridiculous. When you take a look at the EV charging stations, which they bailed aid, look at the amount of money they asked for that. Just aid was put out. Then you can imagine what was actually going on. Someone wrote, now ask the question, if it was that hard to get funding, what happening to all the money that people fail to jump through holes to get? They make it hard on purpose so they can keep the Lord. That is the truth. That is exactly what was going on. Reason Trump coming in, struggling to reduce all this, they are furious because people are realizing what they actually did. They are seeing their fraud.
8 is states must submit an initial proposal to the NTIA. Then...
Is that the result of their $5 million planning fund? This
I
initial
assume,
proposal?
but then what was the 5-year plan?
And what the did they apply for? What was their NOFO?
Like, if the 5-year action plan isn't the initial proposal, then what's the 5-year action
Forget
plan?
NOFO.
Okay.
MOFO.
Step 9, NTIA must review and approve each state's, again, initial proposal. By my read, we have had at least 2 initial proposals here, but that's a different issue.
Oh, my God.
Step 10, states must publish their own map and allow internal challenges to their own map. So the government has published a map. They have invited the states to challenge the map. Then states have submitted initial proposals, and they then have to publish their own map and allow challenges.
Wait, who's challenging it within the state?
Well, organized interest groups, environmental groups, like I don't know who specifically, but literally anybody. This is, right. I want to say something because it's very important I say this. This is the Biden administration's process for its own bill. They wanted this to happen. This is how liberal government works now.
This is something they instituted for this bill.
For their bill. This is a bill passed by Democrats with a regulatory structure written by Democratic administration. Okay.
Right.
Step 11. The NTIA must review and improve the challenge results and the final map. So the NTIA has put forward a map. The states have challenged that map. Then the states have put forward their maps, had other challenges. And now the NTIA must review and approve the challenges to the state maps. Okay. So we've done step 11, NTIA must review and approve challenge results and final maps.
Yes, it is almost like government is
I'm
extremely
speechless.
inefficient.
Honestly, like,
these same people will kick and scream when
far worse than I could have imagined. But the fact that they amputated their own legs on this
we have seen
is
what
what's
Democrats
so
did
stunning.
in recent times, especially with what Dutch is doing with Elon Musk. They didn't want all these things to be discovered. Like, they went on the street, they did this, look at what they did here. And they all stood up and voted for this bill. Just imagine this. It's crazy, right? All these steps are not an example of government inefficiency. It was designed this way intentionally to increase billable hours so the lawyers will get rich. It is just simple corruption. That is just how we can tempt it. Yeah. It was made that way to prevent the money from being spent so that it could be laundered and given back to the authors. Apply the basic ages. If the government does something that doesn't make any sense, somebody is getting paid. That is it. The intent of regulation is to kill competition, specifically those that didn't give the politicians money, not to regulate, to protect the public best interest. When you look at government in that light, it all makes sense, right? Hey, no. I was shocked myself, when this guy put this out. And I appreciate him for this segment because he actually enlightened people, to see what Democrats love doing. When they see a bee that shed light on a lot of things, you see they start struggling to cancel it, like what is happening with Chuck Schumer now. them going off on him because he voted for Trump agenda. Crazy, right? Thank you guys for always be there sharing on my videos. If you see any clips after this, that is just for the YouTube algorithm. You can skip if you want.
The Democrats are disappointing me. Okay? Someone seems to have told them that the way for them to get back on top is by being mean. That fighting means not fighting with better, but by being worse. Fire everyone. Everyone is bad because of what just happened on Signal. And that's the light touch. You want to see what the Democrats believe is going to get them to a better place? Listen to what a member of Congress just said.
They did not have an apology. So read my statement. I did read it. It did not have an apology.
No law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the
gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentlewoman's time has expired.
She's new. She's young and she's trying to find her way.
Congratulations. Your term in the U.S. Congress is going really well.
Comment.
Another disaster by the Democrats.
One thing the Democrats specialize in is accents, okay? They adapt them to the audience, and sometimes they go really far out there, and she's at the bleeding edge of street talk, okay?
Yes.
There's going to be a point at which I don't understand it all, and they're speaking in code to their own supporters.
The two stars are Gal Gadot.
For fuel on the fire that there's a potential.
The economy added 16 points.
Your show's on YouTube.
It's a different mechanism. It's the same thing, though.
1980s.
And it was hosted by